All right, guys. Hey, everyone. It's Ryan from resume-to-offer.com. Man, what a crazy month. Got back from the honeymoon. All this crazy stuff's happening. So today we're going to be talking about cybersecurity sales and kind of a little bit more specifically with SDRs, how to be effective with the SDRs. If you haven't checked out some of my other videos, basically I teach you how to get the job, how to get the interview, all those things. You can also check out in the description below a link to all the free resume templates that I have, scripts and everything that you need to really get the job done. So check out that link below. But today we're going to talk about a few different tips if you're trying to become an SDR in cybersecurity sales, cyber sales, tech sales. This is going to be a good one for you and some tips to kind of help you on your journey. Okay, so let's get started. So number one, we're going to talk about cybersecurity sales first, and then I'm going to talk about kind of just SDR basics and maybe some tips. And I kind of try not to. There's a lot of tips out there, guys, and a lot of stuff you've heard multiple times. I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to think of things that you haven't really heard before. So I hope this is alternative knowledge, a different viewpoint of looking at it. And if you haven't, so I've been in tech sales for specifically, I think tech specifically on the sales side, about 5 years. And then for recruiting, I've been a recruiter, which is sales, real B2B sales. Business development, recruiting manager, run recruiters for about 10 years. Right now I'm a lead account executive as well as a recruiting manager at the same time, kind of do two different companies with clients. So I know the area, better than average, okay? I'm always learning though. Anyway, let's talk about it, cybersecurity. So number one, which is funny enough, as an SDR, if you're going to get into the cybersecurity place, you need to know your market intimately. You need to know the competition. You need to know the competitive advantages of each one. You need to know the pricing point and who their clients are. This is a big one. A lot of people don't talk about who is their usual target market demographic. Okay, I know that these companies actually talk to these type of enterprises. These companies only look at, and I usually do it by segment of market size, location, but also deal size as well. Like for example, our top competitor right now, their deal size is usually between 50 to 75. They only go enterprise level, right? So we look at the market segmentation where we're looking at small to medium sized businesses. So you need to understand who's kind of targeting it in like a web. So you need to also know the company you're working for, their point of difference or their unique selling proposition. You need to know what makes you guys the best solution out there for certain, for certain clients or accounts. Okay, you want to make sure you're customizing your solutions as an SDR. You should have 3 to 5 solutions or 3 to 5 closes for kind of selling the demo to potential clients. If you talk to somebody who's a small business, what would be your closing thing? If you talk to somebody who's a big business, if you talk to people that's a remote business or a in-person business, do they use software, hardware, company size? You want to make sure that part of your toolbox is certain closes on asking for the sale at the end that is specific to the client. That's something very different. It's not just one size fits all. It's very customizable. If you saw one of my other videos, a good closing one that I've used in the past is a very not hard sell, and it really is key on tone way of asking for it. And I basically say, if you have 20 minutes, hey, if you have 20 minutes over the next few days, we'd be happy to show you what we can do for you. We think it can be a great fit, and it might be a fit maybe not for now, but maybe for the future. And a lot of our clients have said it was worth looking at, and they maybe have gone in 6 months later. So what do you say? Something like that, to that effect, is I try to make it as not committal. They commit to the demo, not to the product. It's basically getting them to the next step. Okay? I'm not trying to sell. The account executive is going to be selling the demo, selling the product. I'm selling kind of just the meeting. And I do it in a way where it's like, hey, it could be a fit for either now or for the future. Something to that effect has worked effectively, so I hope that helps. But you want to customize your solutions. You also don't want to be a power seller. It's great to have that energy when you're making phone calls, you're going through the motions, all those things. But when you're on the call with customers, you have to mirror the customer. And you don't want to be a power caller or have that sense. You want to, in that frame of mind, be a consultant. Your intention should be education and understanding. Okay, education where it's like maybe they don't know who you are if you're cold calling them. They have no idea. So your job is to really educate. Your job is to really let them understand, here's how we can help your business get to the next level. Okay, it's not like, hey, you need this, you need this, you need this. It isn't that hyper action. You definitely want that when you're kind of just off the phone and you're building your list, you're doing lead generation, you're having that mentality. When you're on the phone, try to have more of a consultant vibe, more effective that way, okay? And also some of the education that might work for you is letting them know like, hey, these are some of the things that our other clients, we've seen in the market, and they target a lot of small business for reasons because you guys don't have cybersecurity options. Like big enterprises invest a lot of money into cybersecurity, but small, medium-sized businesses don't. They either don't have the capital or they just don't think it's, they're not gonna be targeted. And actually they're the most targeted because they've seen those vulnerabilities. Most common ones, ransomware, credential attacks, supply chain attacks. Supply chain attacks is more on the tech side, where basically they attack how your software gets distributed. Ransomware is by far the most common, where a company will hack a small business and they'll hold all your financial or your proprietary information, your IP, for ransom. They won't release it and you pay them a certain amount. This happens a lot. I actually know people outside of work that this has happened to in their businesses. So it is more common than people think. So I try to educate them like, hey, having us is like having an insurance policy. It's a lot better than the alternative, right? What's the worst case scenario? This can happen. And the way things are scaling with technology, it's going to happen more and more and more. And of course, you saw a big rise after COVID because everything went remote. So I try to educate them, and I definitely understand where they're coming from as a client, okay? I try to be in their shoes, be in the client's head, not your own, all right? The other thing, demonstrate the ROI, okay? Another one that I usually kind of like emphasize is compliance. There is a lot of cybersecurity compliance kind of going on right now. If you don't know these terms, you should research them. GDPR, HIPAA, ISO, ISO, NIST, especially NIST. God, I was with NIST all the time. CMMC. CMMC was the big one that I did when I was doing cyber sales, more every day. So you want to make sure you familiarize yourself, okay? It's a good things to know in the back of your head of extra bonuses to kind of layer in your presentation. And there's I'm going to go off topic, but like it's a side note where you don't, if somebody agrees to buy or agrees to the schedule, don't keep talking. Don't overdo it. Don't overpressure. If they are already kind of like, you know what? Okay, I'll have a talk. It's worth chatting about. Great. What works best for you? We have some time Tuesday or Wednesday next week. Does those work for you? That's a great way to kind of like do that without like, killing the sale basically. All right? Let's see. All right, so these are some other things. This is more specifically for SDRs. You can use these for any walks of life, but these are kind of like how to kind of get into the motion. Number one, you want to make sure you're looking at the sale long term, okay? Especially as an SDR, don't burn bridges. You want to look at every relationship, every contact. You never know where things never know where things will go. So you make sure that like keep it very open-ended, very casual. Leave them feeling better than you left them. And, especially down the road, be an SDR that kind of makes a connection with that person. Because down the road, if you're an AE, you might sell them on something different, okay? So just a heads up on that. Other thing, I don't know if you ever heard of this, the 4 steps of learning anything. There's unconscious incompetence, wait, am I gonna get this right? Yeah. Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence, okay? So what that means is that the more you do something, the more it becomes a habit, it becomes natural to you, okay? So if you, when you're a kid tying your shoe, at first you used Velcro, right? You didn't know about it. Then you learned about it, then you start practicing it, and now you don't really think about it. You don't have to think about, all right, I gotta loop, swoop, pull, or bunny ears, or something like that. Same thing with everything else. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, and then we learn that we're not aware of it, and we start practicing it until we become a master of it. Same thing with this. When you're getting started, realize that it will get easier the more you do it. It's going to become more just second nature. It's going to become very automatic, but make sure you're practicing it the right way. Okay? Another one, mirror your market. What does this mean? This means that you need to be very relatable to the market that you're serving. So I'll give you an example. When I was in legal recruiting, there's a time I was considering being a lawyer. Funny enough, I married a lawyer, but I had to dress suit and tie. I had to know the vocabulary. And a lot of people even said, like, are you a lawyer? Actually, no, I'm a legal recruiter. I work with lawyers. So once I started going over to tech and tech recruiting, I look like a person who's in tech, smartly dressed, but a little bit more casual. So you want to make sure you're mirroring the look, the feel, the knowledge bank, the vocabulary of all the people that you're servicing. You have to be very relatable. You have to be part of the tribe, so to speak. So make sure that if you're in cybersecurity, you know what's on their minds, and you're kind of like part of that group. Okay, that's very, very key. The fortune is in the follow-up. This is so key. This happens a lot of time where in sales, 90% of salespeople quit after rejection or the first phone call, okay? You want to always measure your follow-ups, because in a lot of different things, and a lot of different products, sometimes it closes on the third follow-up or the seventh follow-up. And on average, if you get a no, it takes 7 times before you get to a yes. So you always want to follow up. Our client, my own boss, I kind of laugh because I see other B2B sales companies kind of contacting him, and he says yes finally, but it's always after like the 4th or 5th time. And even I noticed that, like, hey, if this company keeps calling him, he's gonna get it. And this happens a lot of the time, so don't quit after the first rejection. No is not always a no. Sometimes it's no, not right now. So just be aware of that and consistently follow up pleasantly, tactfully. All right, batching. Batching is very key for how you're scheduling your day. What I like to do, and I would research this, is called the Pomodoro method. You put in a timer for 25 minutes, and you can focus intently on what you're doing. So when I'm doing like kind of power calls, like on average I do about 30 calls a day. I used to do over 100 calls a day all the time, especially like when I was starting out. But like even nowadays, I still do a lot of calls, and I schedule them so like, all right, this next 2-hour window, I'm focused on this topic, and for every 30 minutes, I'm focused on this task. So kind of like batching is focus on one outcome, and I do that like 3 or 4 times a day in 2-hour increments. I'm like, all right, I'm focused on this task. Okay, I'm doing recruiting tasks first, then I'm doing follow-ups, then I got to do all the sales stuff, and then I'm doing planning for the next day. So kind of batching it in certain segments. Very effective. And the last one, embrace the suck. This is something from Navy SEALs. You got to embrace the suck. Cold calling is not always the most fun thing, but it's kind of like the rite of passage for every salesperson. You kind of have to do it so you know what's going on. I had to do it for years. Probably at least, if I added it all up, probably 4 years straight, I was doing like just cold calling, both in SaaS sales as well as kind of like in my recruiting days, business development. So a lot of cold calling that way. And just know that it's not forever, it's temporary. If you love it, great, keep going with it. If you don't love it, learn from it. Embrace the moment, know it's temporary. Hey, I might have to do this for the next 2 years, but after that, I'm gonna be so badass and I'm still gonna make money at the same time. So embrace that challenge for yourself, okay? So I hope these tools have been helpful. A few little last minute things. Again, if you haven't checked out the link below, I include a lot of like free resume templates and tips and scripts that you can help you. The other thing is obviously check out my website if you want to conduct a one-on-one. I also have partnered with Pathrise because I think they're really good. They actually help you find sales jobs, as well as I do for Tech Sales Ascension. And I actually do the consulting calls with them once or twice a week, free group calls. We look at your resume, we give you feedback, we give you feedback for the job interview you have, but also I gift, they have their own courses on how to get the job, how to be an effective SDR, how to be an effective AE, And also, if you use my link below, you get a discount, and I will gift you as well a free one-on-one consulting, free if you choose, okay? All right, guys, so I hope that helps. Anyway, have a good one, and catch you guys later. Cheers.